I'll call to order the 30th meeting of the Mayor and City Council meeting in regular session on Monday, April 22nd, 2019. We'll have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilman Les. Please stand.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Rao, would you please call the roll?
Mr. DeWalt?
Here.
Mr. Sidnor?
Here.
Ms. Nicholas?
Here.
Mr. Les?
Here.
President Smalls?
Here. Agenda item 2 is approval of minutes. Approval of the minutes of the 29th meeting of April 8th, 2019. Council, if you've had a chance to review the minutes, and if there are no edits or updates, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Mr. President, make a motion to approve the minutes from April the 8th, 2019.
Thank you, Councilman Sidnor. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Councilman DeWalt. Any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Rao, please call for the vote.
Mr. Sidnor?
Yes.
Mr. DeWalt?
Yes.
Ms. Nicholas?
Yes.
Mr. Les?
Yes.
President Smalls?
I vote yes. We're going to take things slightly out of order on the agenda because we have a court reporter here this evening. We're going to move to agenda item 7B, the second public hearing with possible action on ordinance number 1941, text amendment number 251, an ordinance to amend chapter 20, land development and subdivision, article 1, zoning, division 1, definitions, section 20-1.87, and division 5, zoning districts, section 20-6.13 of the City of Laurel Unified Land Development Code, and providing an effective date. Ms. Pulley.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the council. Text amendment application number 251, ordinance number 1941 to amend the Laurel City Chapter 20 Land Development and Subdivision Article 1, Zoning Division 1 Definition, Section 20-1.7 and Division 5, Zoning District Section 20-6.13 of the Unified Land Development Code. On March 14, 2019, the proposed ordinance was sent to the Maryland Department of Planning for comment. MDP we haven't received a comment from the organization. The file contains a certificate of publication verifying that this application and public hearing was advertised as required by law in the April 11th and April 18th edition of the Prince George's Centennial. A memorandum from the City of Laurel's Planning Commission to the Mayor and City Council dated April 11, 2019, reads as follows. At the regular meeting of the City of Laurel Planning Commission held on April 9, 2019, the following action was taken on the subject zoning application. A motion by Ms. Bonner, seconded by Mr. Welford, and carried on a roll call vote of all members present. The Planning Commission recommended that the Mayor and City Council approve text amendment application number 251 as presented in the proposed ordinance. That concludes the reading of the file, Mr. President.
Thank you, Ms. Pulley. I will open the public hearing at 7:04. I have presumably no one signed up to speak on this agenda item. Is there anyone who would like to speak? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing at 7:04. Council, what's your pleasure?
Mr. President, I'll move for approval.
Thank you, Councilman Les. Is there a second?
A second.
Thank you, Councilwoman Nicholas. Any discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Rao, please call the roll.
Mr. Les?
Yes.
Ms. Nicholas?
Yes.
Mr. DeWalt?
Yes.
Mr. Sidnor?
Yes.
President Smalls?
I vote yes. Agenda item 7C, second public hearing with possible action on ordinance number 1942, text amendment number 253, an ordinance to amend the Laurel Unified Land Development Code, Chapter 20, Land Development and Subdivision, Article 1, Zoning, Division 5, Zoning Districts, Section 20-1.7, Section 20-6.13, Section 20-7.8 of the City Code to allow for tourist homes and providing an effective date. I've read the title into the record for the second reading. I'll open a public hearing at 7:05. Mr. Love.
Good evening, Mr. President and members of council. Text amendment application number 253, ordinance number 1942 was filed on March 11th, 2019 by city staff to the mayor and city council of Laurel to amend the Laurel Unified Land Development Code, Chapter 20, Land Development and Subdivision, Article 1, Zoning, Division 5, Zoning District, Section 20-1.7, 20-6.13, 20-718.8 of the City Code to allow for tourist homes and providing an effective date. On March 14, 2019, the proposed ordinance was sent to the Maryland Department of Planning for comment. MDP had no comment. The file contains a certificate of publication verifying that this application and public hearing was advertised as required by law in the April 4th and 11th edition of the Prince George's Sentinel. The proposed text amendment 253 Ordinance 1942 to allow a tourist home as an accessory use within a single-family dwelling, one family detached, within the following zoning districts: the R5, R55, R20, RT, R30, R18, R10, RMD, CN, CC, CG, and CV zones. A tourist home would be defined as a single-family dwelling, one family detached, where overnight lodging is provided for one or more visitors with a maximum of 6 visitors at one time for no more than 30 consecutive days per calendar year. The tourist home is an accessory to the principal use as a main dwelling. A tourist home shall comply with the following. It must be located within a single-family dwelling, one family detached, that is permanent residence of the owner. All tourist homes must obtain a tourist home license for this use, which must be applied for by the owner of the property. Prior to the issuance of this license, the premises must be inspected by the Office of the Fire Marshal and Permit Services and approved, subject to any conditions deemed appropriate by the Fire Marshal or designee, prior to the first night of occupancy for this use and every year thereafter of operation. The tourist home license will expire annually on July 1st, at which time the applicant has 30 days to renew the license. Off-street parking must be provided for all visitor vehicles. All vehicles must be parked in accordance with Section 18-166.2 of the Laurel City Code. Only one tourist home is permitted per city street. The owner may not rent the tourist home for a period of less than 3 days between visitor stays. The City of Laurel will maintain a database for all tourist homes licenses, which will include, but is not limited to, the following: property owner's name, phone number, and email address, and also the name, phone number, and email address of a designated emergency contact. The fire marshal shall be entitled to inspect the premises of any tourist home upon 24-hour written notice to the owner, or immediately should an emergency condition be reasonably believed to exist. Should a violation be found to occur, the owner of the property may be cited for any such violation, and the owner shall be given 15 days to correct the violation. If, however, the violation involves an emergency condition that could, in a reasonable judgment of the fire marshal, substantially threaten the health or safety of any resident or visitor within the premises, the violation shall be corrected as directed by the violation notice, and the fire marshal may order the premises be vacated until the violation is corrected. Otherwise, if a violation is found to exist by the fire marshal and is not corrected within the 15-day period, the fire marshal may issue a civil citation with a fine to be imposed as set forth by the City of Laurel Unified Land Development Code, Section 20-3.1. Failure to correct the violation within 30 days may result in a revocation of the tourist home license. A memorandum from the Laurel Planning Commission to the Mayor and City Council dated April 11, 2019 reads as follows. At their regular meeting on April 9, 2019, the City of Laurel Planning Commission considered Text Amendment 253 Ordinance 1942 to allow a tourist home as an accessory use within a single-family dwelling, one family detached, within certain residential and commercial zones, and providing for an effective date. After much discussion, the Commission recommended to approve the zoning application. On the motion of Ms. Bonner, seconded by Mr. Wilson, and carried on the roll call of all members present, the Planning Commission recommended the Mayor and City Council approve Text Amendment Application 253 as presented in the proposed ordinance. That concludes the reading of my file, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Love. Council, there's no one else signed up to speak on this agenda item, so I'll close the public hearing at 7:10. What's your pleasure?
Mr. President, I have a question for Mr. Love.
Okay.
Mr. Love, what section can I find where it says that the tourist home has to have a paved driveway? Does it say that in any of these sections?
The page section, in the section that I presented,
Yes.
what I presented is Section 18-166.2, which states that no vehicle, trailer, recreation vehicle, or watercraft shall be stored, parked, or located on a grassy dirt surface. All vehicles, trailers, recreational vehicles, and watercraft must be parked on an approved driveway.
So that doesn't refer to tourist homes, correct? Or are we inferring that?
Yeah, that's going to be for that. That's for anything within the city of Laurel as far as has to be on an approved driveway. So it won't be able to be, you won't be able to park on the grass or the dirt or anything that isn't an approved driveway.
I sent you that email saying I would like to see in this legislation something about that the tourist home has to have a paved driveway. And we're going to refer back to a section 18-166.2 that I think is very vague. I think it should be spelled out in the ordinance itself about that these tourist homes have to have a paved driveway. The inference or anything like that is just not, it just doesn't sit well with me. I want it in writing, and the only way I would approve this is if we added to the legislation narrative in there that it's a paved driveway. And here's my reason for that. We went through a medical marijuana place that when Pure Hannah put in their application, and we went through all the way to the appeals process of that. Yet we had a 2016 ordinance prohibiting 3 different things that should have been uncovered during the vetting process and the overall process of that medical marijuana area, where in 2016 there were 3 violations to that. So it should have never got to the point it got to, and we wasted a lot of our citizens' energy and time doing something like that. And with this tourist homes not specifically saying that it has to be a paved driveway there, an inference is not good for me. I need to see that in the ordinance, or I would vote against it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman DeWalt. Mr. Love, let me just ask you, not to necessarily advance this any further, but the statement in the ordinance is approved driveway,
Correct.
and that includes a number of different kinds of surfaces
Correct.
in an approved driveway,
Yes,
up to and including a paved driveway, am I?
that's correct. Yes.
Okay, so it could be, if I'm not mistaken, and I understand the ordinance, that Councilman DeWalt's issue could easily be resolved within that approved driveway statement.
Mhm.
It includes,
And yeah, that's what it's included with that. And then section, yeah, that could be included.
Councilman DeWalt, does that in some way address what your issue is?
So what I'm understanding, it could be a gravel driveway, correct?
It could be.
That's not satisfactory to me. What's going to stop a person from putting a bunch of gravel in their yard just so they could be part of this tourist home thing? I think it should be a paved driveway. Then we're putting on a restriction for them that we're definitely going to have. Then we're going to start getting people parking on grass areas. They're going to protest. I just think it needs to be spelled out into a paved driveway, either asphalt or concrete. That's just.
If it's an existing gravel driveway, yes, they can put more gravel, but anything new would have to be paved. And then if they were to gravel on, there's lot coverage issues with that. They would have to go through the city to get approval for those sort of things. So that's what would be covered. That's covered in the ordinance.
It's, if you look at that house that I reported on Post Office Avenue, it had a driveway in there that just was absolutely, it didn't even look like a driveway, yet it was a driveway, and they were able to park vehicles on that gravel. I think it should be a paved driveway, and I think in order for them to get approval on this.
I like to think that the standards for the tourist home would be slightly above what standards are. The owner of a tourist home, when it comes to things like driveways, et cetera, maintenance of the property, a number of other things, would be held to a slightly different standard, higher standard perhaps, than someone who may have a driveway that they allow to go into disrepair and that sort of thing. So I think the monitoring, I'm presuming, the monitoring of such would be under more scrutiny by our code enforcement and others. Is there any other discussion, council? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve ordinance 1942, text amendment 253. I understand what Councilman DeWalt is saying, but in accordance to the 166.2, I think the tourist home will follow those instructions if they was to file application. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman Sidnor. Is there a second?
I'll second, but I do have a question. So what you're saying, to Carl's point, is someone who has a tourist home, they can't just go buy gravel and pour it down and say that that's a driveway.
Correct.
And if they did do that, then there are other levels of approval they would have to go through?
Other levels of approval, there's other various things you'd have to meet for that, yeah.
Okay.
Permit, that's what any driveway that would take.
Okay, I approve.
Thank you, Councilwoman Nicholas. Ms. Rao, please call the roll.
Mr. President, the public hearing is closed at,
Oh, I'm sorry, yes. Public hearing is closed at 7:17.
thank you.
Would you call for the vote?
Mr. Sidnor,
Yes.
Ms. Nicholas,
Yes.
Mr. DeWalt,
No.
Mr. Les,
Yes.
President Smalls.
I vote yes. Thank you. Now we'll get back to a regularly scheduled agenda. Agenda item 3 is report of the mayor and city council, and tonight we'll start with Councilman DeWalt.
Good evening, everyone. It's good seeing you, Bruce. Saturday, April 13th, I attended me and council member Sidnor attended the egg extravaganza. That's a hard word to say. Sponsored by the Parks and Rec Department and Laurel Lions. Although it took probably all morning to set up all those eggs and barriers and everything they had to set up, it took exactly 15 minutes for them kids to clear out every single egg on that mountain. It's a great event, and I look forward to it every year. That evening, I attended the Laurel Historical Society Gala, which was very well attended. A lot of fun. A couple of the people that were recognized was Ruth Walls, one of my neighbors, for her community service in the neighborhood, and Joe Murchison, the head of Side by Side, which is an absolute fabulous organization. On Tuesday, April 16th, I attended the North Laurel Community Center on Whiskey Bottom Road for a demonstration on a stream restoration that they're going to be doing up there. This stream flows down from that Whiskey Bottom area and dumps into the Patuxent River. And one of the residents there has said that 7 years ago that stream never existed. And now it's a constant flowing stream due to all the construction and everything in that area. So there's another stream going into our great Patuxent River. On Thursday, the 18th, I attended the First Baptist Church. The children of the elementary school and the teachers were there. There were a lot of kids. They planted a crepe myrtle. It was also Arbor Day, and it was the 26-year anniversary of the city of Laurel with the award of Tree City USA. The kids loved it, and I told them it's going to look absolutely fabulous in the summertime when those flowers blossom on that tree. On the 18th, that evening, I attended a function by a group called Resist. It was at the Women's Club of Laurel on Main Street. Senator Jim Rosapep and Delegate Jocelyn Payne and Melnick were there, and they gave a report of the 2019 Maryland legislative session. And if anybody's interested in what some of the things they supported, you could go to www.21stdistrictdelegation.com. This past Saturday, April 20th, I attended the Goody Park Laurel Lakes cleanup. There was a good attendance there. It was amazing how much trash, litter, just unbelievable items. We pulled a 10 by 12 rug out of there that had to weigh 150 pounds. They got it out of the river. And hats off to the Laurel Volunteer Rescue Squad. They came out, not only did they save lives with all their volunteer work, and they do great work, but they were out there in full force with hip waders on, and they were able to get a lot of the heavy stuff that was buried in the mud. So hats off to them. I'd like to read a thing on that occurred last week, and it's for our 911 call takers and dispatchers. Our dispatchers have one of the most important job there is in that police department. It's one of the most stressful, and you have to be on your toes every second of every day. And they're the first wave of contact that the public has with the police in the city. And this is a small recognition to them. The week of April 14th through the 20th is a week to celebrate 9/11 callers and dispatchers and all that you accomplish each and every day. It is a great time to honor and praise the amazing service above self, work dedication, assisting with the birth of a child over the phone, talking a caller through performing CPR on a family member, calming a victim of a violent crime, reassuring a child that there are no monsters under their bed, texting with a teenager that might be witnessing a crime at their school, or just having a conversation with an elderly caller who may be confused and not have anyone else to contact. The simple definition of service is the action of helping or doing work for someone. Although being a public safety telecommunicator is never as simple as this definition of service, it is the most important function. In order to effectively serve others, it takes different ideas, skill sets, and personalities to assist in being successful. A group of like-minded people coming together accomplish a goal through good times and bad, through sadness and happiness, and through merriment and defeat. Each of us has a unique set of attributes that will bring to the profession, but at the end of the day, we all have the same goals, which are to serve our citizens and first responders and assure the best of our abilities that everyone is kept safe from harm. Celebrating the passion, perseverance, friendship, commitment to service, nurturing spirit, and teamwork that is shown day in and day out by public safety telecommunicators is a definition of National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. On behalf of the citizens of Laurel, we want to express our pride and appreciation for all you do. We recognize, support, and celebrate you. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman DeWalt. Councilman Sidnor.
Thank you, Mr. President. On April the 9th, 2019, I'm a member of the MML Engagement Outreach Committee. So I attended an essay reading contest. 2,700 fourth graders throughout the state of Maryland submitted essays if I was the mayor. So that was a pretty good contest. The results haven't came in yet, but once the results come in, I think it's 11 districts in the state of Maryland. They'll recognize a fourth grader and their teacher and their parents would come to Annapolis to meet someone from the governor's office, whether it's a governor, lieutenant governor, or a designated person. I think that's a good, so looking forward to the winner of that contest. Hope someone from our Laurel area wins the contest as well. On April 13th, like Councilman DeWalt said, we was there at Goody Park with the Easter, I'm gonna say the Egg Festival, be political correct. So we attended that. And also on April the 18th, we had a public safety committee, a meeting. I attended that. So thank you, Mr. DeWalt, for recognizing the dispatchers of our police department. And on April the 19th, I co-sponsored with some other organizations. We took a total of 27 people, parents and children, on a historical Black College University tour. The university we attended was Norfolk State University and Hampton University. It was an all-day event. We made it back safe. We ran into some of the weather, the tornado coming back, but the young children and their high school children and their parents enjoyed the tour. They thank us for organization, our partnership with taking them down there. And also on April 19th, like Councilman DeWalt said, I attended the Laurel Lake cleanup. Now also thank Director Barr of Park Recreation for giving me the equipment and tools, because there's a path that goes from this Laurel Lake Senior Apartments to the Robert DePietro Center. And so we cleaned that area up. And I want to thank the following individuals who have volunteered. Lynn Banks, Malik Williams, Shanika Majors, Dominic Ezeki, Christopher Holloway, Melanie Reed, and Nathan Pitts. These all members of the city that live in Ward 1 and Ward 2. And they came out to participate in that Earth Day cleanup event. So that concludes my report, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Sidnor. Councilwoman Nicholas.
Thank you. I'd first like to apologize because I missed most of the events this week. I went to North Carolina thinking that I was going to celebrate myself, my brother, and my sister's birthday, to find out that my loved one has cancer. And I'm bringing it up because in my last council connection, I talked about your health being your wealth. And I also talked about knowing your numbers, your BMI, your blood pressure, your sugar level, and your cholesterol, because he's very healthy, never been sick. And it just brings me back to, making sure you take care of yourself. Eating right is good, but you have to go to the doctor to know your numbers. That's the first thing. The second thing is texting, not only texting while driving, but texting while walking. Because before I left, I went to Food Lion, and I had yielded to the lady who pulled in because I was going to take the parking place next to her, and she never looked up. She had her phone, and she was walking and texting. And, I noticed that everybody's on their phone. This modern technology has gone completely overboard. So I think texting while driving is important, texting and walking too, because if I wasn't paying attention, I could have hit her. So I wanted to bring that up. And again, I wanted to apologize for missing all of the events. And I just ask you all to please pray for my family member. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Nicholas. Councilman Les.
Thank you, Mr. President. I hope everyone had a wonderful and safe Easter and holiday weekend. April 9th, along with Councilwoman Nicholas, we attended the Cats fundraiser at the Double T. The food was great. The April 13th, as you heard, Laurel Historical Society had their gala. They had 219 attendees, and Jonna Levine, the president, could not tell me how much they earned, but they earned a little bit of money, I think. April 17th, we had City Hall in the park at Emancipation Park. The weather was nice. It got dark real quick. Hopefully, as the summer goes on, we'll have a little more sunlight, and the weather will stay nice. Had an occasion to speak with Chris. He has project oversight responsibility for the 4 bays at Laurel Lakes. They've had some design change. Had that conversation by email today with them. Had design changes that have added some duration to the project, but the contractor is still planning on pulling the plug on the drain before May 1. So a lot going on over at Laurel Lakes. It'll improve the quality of the water that goes down the Patuxent River, and we're looking forward to it. That concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman Les. Date escapes me, but I, along with other council members, participated in a CPR AED refresher class right here in council chambers. And I don't think any of us can be overtrained when it comes to any kind of life-saving skills that we can acquire. I, like others on the council, attended the Laurel Historical Society Gala. The theme was 1969. a year that is near and dear to my heart. That's the year I graduated from high school. So it was especially interesting to see how some of the guests dressed in clothing that was from that period. And quite honestly, I asked a couple of people, you can still get into some of those clothes? It was amazing to me. I also attended the PGCMA monthly meeting in College Park. One of the guest speakers was the Prince George's County Planning Department, who talked about many of the enhanced features they have on their website that will help businesses and residents navigate through the planning process. I attended this past Saturday the paper shredding and electronic recycling event that took place at the Department of Public Works. I hung out down there for a little while, just sort of talking about recycling. And with today being Earth Day, I thought it's important to address some of the questions that are being raised by some of our residents, and Mr. Fareed talked about it recently, but the plastic bags now being asked not to be placed into our recycling. Rather, they should be placed in the trash. And that includes all types of plastic bags, from not just plastic grocery bags, but plastic fruit, vegetable bags, to plastic storage bags like you would put sandwiches and that sort of thing in. So I asked Public Works, who said that they have a host of recycling-related, conservation-related videos on their website to run this one tonight at our council meeting, in part in honor of Earth Day, but more importantly, as an information piece. Ross?
You're not supposed to recycle plastic bags at home. But why? The bags are made of recyclable materials, but recycling companies don't want them in your blue bin. Seems strange, right? It's due in part to single-stream recycling, which is common in many communities. It works like this. You toss everything into one bin, and it all gets sorted at the recycling center. Special gears separate flat items, like paper and cardboard, from bottles and other containers. Air jets split lightweight bottles and cans away from glass. Electrically charged aluminum cans are repelled into their own stream, while magnets pull out tin cans and other metals. And after a beam of infrared light detects up to 7 types of plastic, a blast of air sends them along individual paths. The end result is huge bales of sorted materials, which are sold to paper mills, metal foundries, and plastic makers. So, what's the problem with plastic bags? The first complication occurs at step 1, the single-stream recycling bin. Here, bags get wet and dirty and become too contaminated to sell. Second, there's no mechanical process for separating plastic bags at recycling facilities. And a recycling industry representative said there's not enough staff or money to clean and dry the dirty bags. Instead, they either get tangled up in sorting equipment or accidentally end up in bales of separated paper. And if just 0.5% of a bale is contaminated by other materials, it can't be sold to reuse companies. In the end, most plastic bags are removed by hand and dropped in the trash, even if recyclables are inside. So, what can you do? Clean and dry plastic bags are still recyclable, but they must be dropped off at specially designated collection spots, like the ones you see at grocery stores. From there, companies buy the bags and recycle them into hard, durable plastics, like patio furniture. If you must choose between a home recycling bin or the trash, the recycling industry suggests throwing plastic bags in the trash. It might feel wrong, but recycling centers say it helps more materials get recycled. Another option, don't use plastic bags. Opt for paper or cloth bags instead.
So there you have it. One of the other
Hi, I'm Mayor
things.
Craig Mellon. I'm standing in Riverfront.
Put the mayor on. One of the other things I learned in my discussions with Public Works Saturday was that we're going to start, and Joseph, jump in if I'm misstating this, a program for composting, and I think as time moves forward, and I think the mayor talked about this a little bit earlier, that there'll be 1 or 2 target communities, control communities, presumably in Ward 2, that will be the test subjects for this composting effort that will be underway. And Joseph, if you have anything you want to add to that, or anything else regarding recycling.
Well, Mr. President and the council members, everyone here in attendance, I appreciate very much how you've presented the information. Yes, the difficulties we are having now is for the resident to comply, to take out the plastic, not putting this recycling plastic, or putting even the plastic in the recycle. There are 2 ways, and what we're doing much is we've been educating the residents so much. We have a calendar at the beginning of the year that indicate what is recyclable or not. So we want to start from there first. So if they can help, the problem we're also having is at the dump site. They charge us more money if we take toxins, there, and they even threaten that they will refuse our trucks if they come down there with all this toxin, the plastic in it. So we're making all different effort, and I've always talked to Rob that every time he has time to talk to you all, that if you can find any way to pass the information to the resident, to help us and assist us very much. The guys are going, it's hard enough to go from door to door, but then if they get to the door and start separating the plastic, it's more difficult for them, and they come back and complain a lot of what's done. And some residents even come out and curse them out. Mm-hmm. So we don't want to have any, again, friction between the crews and the residents. So we're coming, and at times I have to go around and monitor what they're doing and to assist them. So along with what you said, we're trying all effort to make sure that everything goes on orderly and we work well.
Thank you. Thank you. Council, in conclusion, Public Works has a wealth of information. Some of the material are handouts and that sort of thing. So I just encourage you to maybe take a trip down to Public Works, pick up some of the material as you're out in the community. Maybe you want to hand some of this information, because it's very important for us, if for no other reason than what Joseph mentioned about the tipping fees and what it costs the city in those fees when we're recycling the wrong kinds of materials or dumping the wrong types of materials. So you'll hear me talk more and more in my reports in council meetings about conservation, recycling, and just general information from Public Works on how we can reach out to our citizens to encourage them to be more aware of what they're putting into their trash and their recycling bin.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. I have a proclamation that I'm going to, go down front and read. Now. This is a proclamation 2019-8, whereas the office of the municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants, and this year we are celebrating the 50th anniversary of Municipal Clerks Week. And whereas the office of the municipal clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local government bodies, and agencies of government at other levels. And whereas municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality, and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. And whereas municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, province, county, and international professional organizations. Now, therefore, I, Greg A. Moe, Mayor of the City of Laurel, do hereby proclaim the week of May 5th through May 11th, 2019, as Municipal Clerks Week in the City of Laurel, and encourage all citizens to extend appreciation to our municipal clerks, Maryland clerks, and clerks around the world for the key services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent. Signed by Greg A. Moe, Mayor. Who do I present? Agenda item 4 is mayoral appointments. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. I will get you. Let me do the reappointment and appointment. Mayoral appointments and reappointment. Mayoral appointments to the No-Kill Animal Shelter Task Force. Bruce Dodson, Chair. Joanne Wilson, Vice Chair. H. Edward Ricks, Laura, I said this easily when I thank you, Pelletier, Helen Woods, Jody Broughton, and Anthony Prater. Council, I will entertain a motion to approve.
Mr. President, I move for approval.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I'll take just a minute of president privilege and talk about Mr. Bruce Dodson. I met Bruce many, many years ago on the Board of Appeals, and I still, to this day, quote many of the things that Bruce taught me as a member of the Board of Appeals, and I've carried those things with me through my years on Planning Commission as well as here at the dais here. So I think the mayor's appointment of Bruce, or the mayor's recommendation of Bruce to be appointed to this committee is an excellent choice. So council, Ms. Rao, you'll call the roll.
Mr. Les?
Yes.
Ms. Nicholas?
Yes.
Mr. DeWalt?
Yes.
Mr. Sidnor?
Yes.
President Smalls?
I vote yes. The other mayoral reappointment is Cynthia Wood, Environmental Services Commission, Barbara Robinson, Environmental Services Commission, John Robinson, Environmental Services Commission, Virginia Scaglarini, Parks and Recreation Committee. Council, what's your pleasure?
Mr. President, I move to approve all of the appointments mentioned.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Rao, please call the roll.
Ms. Nicholas?
Yes.
Mr. Les?
Yes.
Mr. DeWalt?
Yes.
Mr. Sidnor?
Yes.
President Smalls?
I vote yes. Agenda item 5 is a report of the city administrator. Mr. Goddard.
Thank you, Mr. President, and congratulations to all of our most recent appointees. Another busy month for the city of Laurel, and as I always do, I want to start out by thanking all the department heads and their staff for all the hard work for the entire month. And behind what you see here, behind the scenes, are tremendous, tremendous employees who really make the city run. And Mr. President, with your permission, in the interest of our viewing audience tonight, who is anxiously awaiting the Capitals game to come on, I will be brief, because if I'm not, they'll change the channel and they won't hear me anyhow. So our Parks and Rec installed the first solar-powered charging bench at Emancipation Community Park. The sofa, how it's referred to, it's a smart urban furniture appliance bench, is made of sustainably harvested material and can be used to charge any device with a USB port. And the department is looking at other locations to do that as well. But if you show up, bring a cord. I mean, you can bring your phone, but you can't plug it in without a cord. So for all of those that are visiting our benches to plug in and get charged up, make sure you bring your cord with you. The Tucson River cleanup had about 20 volunteers that collected about 200 pounds of trash and debris from both the river and the surrounding park. And again, thanks to the Laurel Volunteer Rescue Squad, as was previously mentioned, for their aquatic rescue equipment as they went into the river and certainly retrieved a number of several large items. The Easter extravaganza was co-sponsored by the Laurel's Lion Club and held at Goody Park with over 500 participants. The city participated in its 26th consecutive year celebrating Arbor Day. That was sponsored by the Tree Board, Laurel Tree Board, where they planted, as previously mentioned, a crepe myrtle on the grounds of the Christian Academy, Laurel Baptist School, and presented each student with a tree, a sapling to take home and plant on their own. They hosted a cleanup at Goody Park as part of Earth Day celebration, where the Clean Water Partnership completed a cleanup of the lake. The county, as again previously mentioned, is expected to have this project open by Memorial Day. That's the promise, so we're going to hold them to it. Working with the Laurel Arts Council on the ceramic tile bench installation at McCullough Field, and assisting with preparations for the Plotty High School Theater Showcase on May 1st at SIPS, the Laurel High School Arts Exhibition at the Municipal Center on May 5th. These inaugural events are for the schools and sponsored by the Laurel Arts Council. Department is also preparing for an annual Lake Fest celebration on May 4th at the Granville Goody Park. This free family event is the official kickoff to the summer season. There will be no boating this year, since there's no water this year. The park grounds will be available for games, music, food, and entertainment, as has been in the past. Our Department of Information Technology has recently completed a citywide assessment of all our employees' cybersecurity awareness through phishing campaigns. And as you all know, that's an international focus of those that are trying to get into our systems. This week of cybersecurity awareness assessment will be sent to every employee with an active network account in the city, and all employees are expected to complete the assessment. And this brief assessment will present a variety of scenarios and ask questions designed to gauge their understanding of cybersecurity tips. At the end of the month, we will begin monthly interactive video training. So IT has been inundated, all the employees, with these fake accounts, and he's trying to suck us all into getting into the phishing. But I'm very happy to report that we haven't fallen that just yet. Now, I say that before the report comes out. When the report comes out, I may change our mind. IT has also begun the implementation of our new Office 365 compatible voicemail system. We're very excited about that, and is also in the process of developing a NIST-based cybersecurity response plan as a part of our security initiatives here at City Hall and across the city. Economic development staff attended the COG electric vehicle roundtable discussion, which was part of the DC Auto Show. And while the staff wanted us to really feel sorry for them that they had to go down to DC in the middle of the day, they did get to see the auto show in advance. They didn't get to drive the cars, as I understand, though. They held a brewery, winery, distillery startup seminar on April 11th, hosted by Grow and Fortify. Staff attended a fair housing symposium in Bowie on April 18th. The department held their second annual Small Business Resource Fair, co-sponsored with the Laurel Library, on April 18th. Staff attended the Planning Directors Roundtable held by the Maryland Department of Planning, and the staff will also be attending the Council of Governments Region 4 meeting on Friday, April 26th. Public Works, as you previously mentioned, Mr. President, the No Plastics Initiative is in full really full steam ahead. They delivered over 500 no plastic recycling notices, and they've literally fielded hundreds of phone calls from our residents regarding no plastic in recycling. So I want to really congratulate and thank the staff down at Public Works for really taking this initiative on and be willing to sit there and take literally hundreds. It's one of the few departments that tracks every single phone call that comes in. It's amazing. The data that they generate, the phone calls, emails, responded to over 329 voicemails and email requests from residents on information. Painted the parking lots on Main Street. I'm sure a lot of you have already seen that from US 1 up to C Street. Began spring cleanup, includes citywide street sweeping, additional yard debris collections, community dumpster deliveries, cleaning up the trees, tree wells, litter patrol, and storm drain cleanup. So thanks to all of our staff at Public Works. I'm going to ask Audrey to come up for just a moment because we in the city have a huge initiative underway as we're competing with cities all across the country, if you will. So Audrey, if you want to come up and talk about how we are going to stay, we recently took over first place, and how we're going to continue with that effort with the help of our community.
Thank you very much, Mr. Goddard. As you know, today's Earth Day. Happy Earth Day, everyone. We've talked about it. But the city of Laurel's effort to do something good for the earth and our environment really started back on April 1st. That was the beginning of Earth Month. We're taking part in a National Mayor's Challenge for Water Conservation. And many of you, a lot of you in this room, I know, have already taken the pledge at mywaterpledge.com. But it's not too late for all of our residents, people who live here, people who work here, go to school here, have any connection to Laurel can join our team. And here's a really short message from Mayor Mo to explain to everyone how it works.
Park, one of the City of Laurel's most... Hi, I'm Mayor Craig Moe, and I'm standing in Riverfront Park, one of the City of Laurel's most important natural resources. And April is Earth Month, and we want to do something very special in the City of Laurel for the environment. And we can do that with your help. I encourage you to take the National Mayor's Challenge for Water Conservation. All you have to do is go to mywaterpledge.com and pledge to save water by doing things like checking for leaks, only doing full loads of laundry and dishes, taking shorter showers, turning the faucet off while you're brushing your teeth, and using water wisely in your yard and around the house. Not only will you be helping the environment, you could win hundreds of prizes, including $3,000 towards your utility bill. So Laurel, let's all rise to the challenge and take the pledge at mywaterpledge.com.
When you go to the website, mywaterpledge.com, you'll see that video message from Mayor Mo. So that's how you know you're voting for the right team. So as Mr. Goddard said, we're currently in first place. Laguna Beach, California is in second place. And they are a very aggressive community. They've been doing it for 8 years, but we want to encourage everybody in Laurel to keep us number one, because like the mayor said in his message, somebody here will get $3,000 if we win. And you have to take the pledge to be eligible to get that money towards your utility bill. So I want to challenge, I have two challenges I want to make tonight. I want to challenge our schools. When the students return to class tomorrow after their break, put it on your announcements. Get all of those children to go home and tell their parents, hey, I want to take the water pledge. I want to not use so much water when I'm brushing my teeth. Even elementary school kids can do this. And the competition puts us in a group with everybody with the same amount of people that live here. So even our young people, our kids are a part of this. All 26,000 people who live in Laurel are a part of this. So sign your whole family up. That's how we can get a few more people on our team. Also, my second challenge is to our nonprofits and our charities in Laurel. When you go to mywaterpledge.com, you have the opportunity to nominate a Laurel charity to be part of this competition. And if they win, they will get a brand spanking new Toyota Highlander hybrid vehicle.
So I'm throwing out this challenge to all the charities that I've submitted your names to. I'm not going to read them all, but you hear me out there, Lars. You know you're on my list. Fidos for Freedom's on my list. The American Legion, post number 60, you are on that list. Get all those people from the American Legion to sign up at mywaterpledge.com. The Laurel Boys and Girls Club is on the list. Laurel Senior Friendship Club. Come on, look at all the people that we can get to help us stay number one. And somebody here will win that $3,000 towards their utility bill. So we have just a few more days left. The competition ends on April 30th. I hope you hear me. Send us your photos. If you do take the pledge, we have a frame in the lobby. Come in, take the pledge, take a photo, we'll share it. It's all about the community, and this is our big collective effort for Earth Month. So take the pledge at mywaterpledge.com. Thank you for your time tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Audrey. Thank you very much, and thank you and your staff for really pushing this initiative. They don't remember those who are number two. So we want to be known across the country, and California, come on, we can beat them. It was Idaho a couple of weeks ago, and we were, I think where? Rexburg, Idaho. I'm thinking, come on. As Eddie said, they're only known for their potatoes, So we can win this thing, and thanks, Audrey, I appreciate it. The police department participated in the DARE Day for Laurel Elementary, Career Day for Scotchtown Hills Elementary, participated in the Laurel Easter Extravaganza, and celebrated National Public Safety Telecommunications Week. And thank you, Councilmember DeWalt, for recognizing them. The mayor and I also visited the shifts down at Communications. We refer to them as our unsung heroes. Those are the ones that are behind the scenes that nobody ever seems to really recognize and acknowledge. And it is the toughest career in public safety to be able to manage the communication side of this. And the department is currently engaged in distracted driving enforcement for the month of April. It's funded through a grant provided by the Maryland Department of Transportation. So for our traveling public and for the kids and the adults that make it a habit of get out there and talking on their phones while they're driving or texting on their phones while they're driving, be aware. The police department they've got their eyes on you, and we're going to do everything that we can. The police department is going to do everything they can to teach them all lessons that this is not what we need to be doing, certainly behind the wheel, as Councilmember Nicholas had mentioned, when you're walking the street. That is it. Mr. President, you can say it's been a busy month for all the employees, and I thank you for the opportunity to come up and share it with you.
Thank you, Mr. Goddard. We certainly appreciate the efforts of your office and all of our city staff and everything you do. It's been said over and over again that what our city staff does helps us up here look good.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We certainly appreciate it. Agenda item 6 is a general public hearing. Members of the public are asked to sign the speaker list at the back of the council chambers. The president has called the speaker list from the sign-in sheet. Each speaker is asked to give their name and address for the record. Each speaker is allowed 3 minutes to speak. I will open the general public hearing at 7:59. I have no one signed up to speak. Is there anyone who'd like to speak? Seeing no one, I'll close the general public hearing at 7:59. Agenda 7A is a second public hearing with possible action on ordinance number 1940, an ordinance of the Mayor and City Council of Laurel, Maryland, to concur with the City of Laurel Planning Commission for the revised conceptual site plan for the Westside Mixed-Use Development. The property is zoned MXT and is located off Westside Blvd and Dusen Road, Laurel, Maryland, 2007. Council of the Planning Commission heard ordinance number 1940 and recommended to table this item until the developer could meet with the surrounding community regarding the proposed project. This application will not be heard before the council until further notice. With that, I'll move to agenda item 7D. Second public hearing with possible action on resolution number 5-19. A resolution of the Mayor and City Council of Laurel, Maryland, for the purpose of establishing a volunteer code of conduct for all City of Laurel volunteers. I read the title into the record for the second reading. I'll open the public hearing at 8 o'clock. I have no one signed up to speak. Is there anyone who would like to speak? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing at 8 o'clock. What's the pleasure of the council?
I move to approve resolution number 5-19. A
Thank you.
resolution for the volunteer code of conduct.
Thank you, Councilwoman Nicholas. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Councilman Les. Any discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Rao, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Nicholas,
Yes.
Mr. Les,
Yes.
Mr. DeWalt,
Yes.
Mr. Sidnor,
Yes.
President Smalls.
I vote yes. Agenda item 8 is closed session, and I'll read the statement regarding closed session for Monday, April 22nd, 2019. The Mayor and City Council may adjourn the closed session on Monday, April 22nd, 2019 at 7 o'clock p.m. The reason for adjourning to a closed session is to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice. The authority for this closed session is contained in the general provisions, Article subsection 3-305B7. I will entertain a motion to go to closed session.
I'll move to adjourn to closed session.
Thank you, Councilman Les. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Ms. Rao, call the roll.
Mr. Les,
Yes.
Ms. Nicholas,
Yes.
Mr. DeWalt,
Yes.
Mr. Sidnor,
Yes.
President Smalls.
I vote yes.
Tell them who you need.
Yeah, we'll need, obviously.